There was this day 5 months ago where I got out of bed, went to Pet Kenzo, and then I got my Xbox controller and I decided to play some Xbox, cause yeah. And so I opened up the Crew 2, my favorite racing game, and I decided to just drive around in my new car. There was this super straight road and it was so boring I wasn't doing anything that I just fell back asleep again, and I didn't open the game for another 5 months. That was the case until I got my first car, and then I learned how to do this. So I thought to myself, what if I learn how to do this shifting stuff in game? Would that make the game more fun? I switched my gearbox from automatic to sequential and I tried it out. It took me a bit to get a hang of it, but after a while I pretty much got it. So here are 3 tips to using a sequential transmission in any racing game. Okay, this first tip only applies to people using controller and assuming gear shifting works by pressing RB and LB, or the 2 buttons right in front of your triggers. Tip number 1, how you can, keyword can, hold your controller. For my right hand, I personally use both my index and middle finger for the right trigger and bumper. This is because using both fingers forces the rest of your hand upwards, so it's easier for me to reach the top few action buttons like Y, X, and B. For my left hand, I only use one finger so that only the tip of my thumb is used to steer, giving me more precise steering controls. To downshift, I pivot my index finger to the bumper, which works out since I'll most likely be braking at the same time. Tip number 2 is how to turn. When you're coming up to a turn, you have 3 options. You can either downshift before the turn, downshift during the turn, or downshift after the turn. The whole reason you downshift is so you can keep your engine revs up, so that after the turn, you have enough torque to pick up back and get back to your original speed. I personally prefer downshifting during the turn, but depending on the situation, say you miss the turn and you have to downshift after, it depends, so you might not always be sticking to one method. Tip number 3 is just to be prepared. Everything about using a sequential transmission is about preparation. Coming up to a turn, what gear are you going to be in? Going up a hill, what gear are you going to be in? Stuff like that, you just have to be always aware and always prepared on what's ahead. It may sound like it's like such a daunting and complicated thing, shifting, but in reality, it's so much fun, and once you get a hang of it, it's like the best thing you've ever learned.